In a cavernous hangar bay at the edge of the Andromeda sector floated the most magnificent failure in galactic history. The Morpheus, a sleek obsidian vessel stretching nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern, had been discovered 37 years ago and had accomplished precisely nothing since. Well, not entirely nothing. It had successfully frustrated 12 generations of Alliance engineers, driven 8 certified geniuses to career changes, and prompted one particularly dramatic Zentorian to dramatically renounce technology and retreat to a monastery on the ice plains of Krell. Impressive, isn't it? Admiral Tholox gestured toward the massive ship with 4 of his 6 arms. His remaining limbs remained clasped behind his back in what passed for military posture among the hexapods. Commander Jack Fletcher stared upward, whistling low. When you said big, I was thinking aircraft carrier big, not small moon big. The Morpheus is the most advanced vessel ever constructed, the Admiral continued. Or so we believe. Nobody's actually seen it operate. Let me get this straight, Jack said, scratching the stubble on his chin. You've had the most powerful starship in the galaxy sitting in your garage for nearly 4 decades, and you can't get it to start? Admiral Tholox's eye stalks twitched in annoyance. The precursors who built it vanished 10,000 years ago, Commander. They didn't exactly leave behind a user manual. So why call in a human? We're the new kids on the galactic block, or so your people keep reminding us. The Admiral's voice dropped to a whisper. Because we're desperate. The Vorgon fleet will reach Alliance space in 18 days. Our defenses will not hold. The legends say the Morpheus could outrun supernovas and punch holes through dimensions. We need that power. And when all your super-advanced alien brains failed, you thought, what, maybe try the monkey with the car keys? I don't know what a monkey is, Commander Fletcher. But yes. Your species' reputation for unorthodox solutions has reached even the High Council. You're our last resort. Jack turned back toward the dormant behemoth, its surface so black it seemed to swallow light itself. Well, Admiral, there's an old human saying, sometimes the simplest solution is the right one. The Admiral's translator glitched momentarily as he attempted to sigh. That's exactly what I'm afraid of. The Morpheus project headquarters resembled nothing so much as an intergalactic science fair gone horribly wrong. Holograms floated at various stations, displaying incomprehensible calculations and 3-dimensional schematics. Aliens of all descriptions hunched over workstations or argued in hushed tones. The air smelled faintly of ozone and desperation. Commander Fletcher. What an absolute pleasure to meet Earth's contribution to our little problem. The voice belonged to a tall, willowy figure with iridescent blue skin and 4-fingered hands. She moved with liquid grace, extending her elongated limbs in the traditional Alterian greeting. Dr. Vex Aura, the Admiral introduced, our lead xenoarchaeologist and technical supervisor. Charmed, Jack replied, awkwardly mimicking the greeting. So you're the one who's been trying to hot-wire this thing? Dr. Vex Aura's expression didn't change. Alterian facial muscles weren't designed for human-readable emotions, but her skin darkened several shades. We've been methodically decoding the most advanced technology ever discovered, Commander. Not hot-wiring anything. 37 years, though, Jack whistled. That's a long time to be methodical. Before Vex Aura could respond, something crashed into Jack's legs with enough force to nearly topple him. Oops. Proximity sensors need calibration. Sorry. Jack looked down to find what appeared to be a metallic beach ball with spindly extendable arms riding itself. Commander, this is Lieutenant Pip, the Admiral said. Well, Pip does a bit of everything. Technical assistant, logistics coordinator, morale officer. Pip chirped, extending an arm for what Jack assumed was supposed to be a handshake. Also, I make excellent caffeine substitutes from 17 different planetary recipes. Pip is an experimental model, Vex Aura explained with thinly veiled disdain. Designed to adapt to any situation but master none. Hey, I sound perfect for this job, Jack grinned, shaking Pip's appendage. So, show me what you've tried so far. What followed was a 4-hour presentation of increasingly ludicrous attempts to activate the dormant vessel. From quantum resonance keys to psychic amplifiers, from reverse-engineered control interfaces to good old-fashioned button mashing, the Alliance had tried everything. And this was Professor Zin's approach, Vex Aura explained, gesturing toward a hologram showing an elaborate apparatus attached to what they believed was the bridge. He theorized that the ship required a specific harmonic frequency to initiate startup protocols. What happened to him? Jack asked. Pip's voice dropped to a whisper. He now creates educational puppet shows on Proxima 2. The failure broke him. Commander, Admiral Thalox interrupted. The High Council wants a progress update. They've given us 48 hours before they pull funding and redirect resources to evacuation efforts. Jack stared at the bewildering array of failed solutions floating before him. You've tried everything except understanding why it was built in the first place. The precursors built it for interstellar travel, obviously, Vex Aura responded. No, Jack said, his eyes fixed on the distant silhouette of the Morpheus. Nobody builds something like that just to get from point A to point B. They build it because they want something more. Pip bounced excitedly. Ooh, like what? Jack shrugged. That's what we need to find out. Who were these precursors? What did they want? What made them tick? Commander, Vex Aura said coldly, we've had 37 years of the galaxy's finest minds working on this problem. What exactly do you think you can contribute in 48 hours? Jack grinned. Fresh eyes, Doc. Sometimes when you stare at something too long, you stop seeing it at all. Humans weren't supposed to be here, you know. Pip's voice startled Jack, who was studying the Morpheus's outer hull through a magnifying interface. Where? This hangar? Space. Galactic Society. Pip extended an appendage to adjust the magnification. The Altarians found Earth 2 centuries ago and classified humans as pre-integration primitives, too aggressive, too unpredictable. Jack snorted. Sounds about right. But then humans did something unexpected. You launched your first interstellar mission before anyone thought you could. The pilot, what was her name? Captain Elena Rodriguez, Jack answered. First human to break the light barrier. They said it couldn't be done with our primitive technology. Exactly. She jury-rigged a standard propulsion system with a household microwave and some duct tape, Jack finished with a smile. Slight exaggeration in the history books, but not by much. That's when the Alliance realized they'd miscalculated. Humans don't follow the expected technological progression path. You skip steps, make intuitive leaps. Jack stepped back from the viewing panel. Is that why they brought me here? Because I might skip steps? I brought you here, Admiral Thalox's voice echoed as he approached, against considerable opposition. Dr. Vex Aura was particularly vocal. She doesn't strike me as the welcome aboard type, Jack remarked. Vex Aura has dedicated 16 years to this project. She's brilliant but rigid, Jack supplied. I've met the type. Doesn't believe in shortcuts. The Admiral's eye stalk swiveled. Speaking of which, Commander, the Council is expecting results. Have you discovered anything useful? Jack sighed. Nothing that would make sense to your scientists, Admiral. Try me. This ship feels familiar somehow. Not the technology that's way beyond us, but the approach. The design philosophy. That's impossible, the Admiral stated flatly. The precursors predated human civilization by millennia. I know, but look at these interface panels. Jack pulled up images on his datapad. They're arranged for beings with 5 appendages, spaced like fingers. And these markings, they're not just decorative. They're mnemonic. Meaning, the Admiral prompted. They're memory aids, intuitive symbols that guide the user. Humans do this all the time. We design things to work with our intuition, not against it. The Admiral looked skeptical. Vexora's team analyzed those markings years ago. They're purely aesthetic. With all due respect, Admiral, your xenoarchaeologists have been approaching this all wrong. They're trying to decode the ship like it's a puzzle box with one correct solution. But what if it's designed to respond to intuition instead? To adapt to its user? That would be, the Admiral paused, highly irregular, inefficient, unpredictable. Exactly, Jack said with growing excitement. Like humans. Later that evening, Jack found himself alone on what they believed to be the Morpheus's bridge. The cavernous chamber was dark save for the faint ambient light from emergency systems. "You're not allowed in here unsupervised," Dr. Vexora's voice cut through the darkness. "Especially not at this hour." Jack didn't turn around. Couldn't sleep. "Thought I'd get a feel for the place without 20 scientists breathing down my neck." "A feel?" Her voice dripped with disdain. "We're not building sandcastles, Commander. This is the most sophisticated technology ever discovered." And yet Jack finally turned to face her. "With all your sophisticated approaches, the ship's still dead in the water." Vexora's skin darkened with irritation. "And what brilliant insight has the human mind generated? Please enlighten me." "Every interface on this ship is designed for direct interaction. Not programmed sequences, not mathematical formulations, just touch and intention. It's organic. Ecmio-organic." "That's absurd," Vexora scoffed. "No advanced civilization would build their flagship to be operated by instinct." "Unless," Jack said quietly, "that was exactly what they valued most." Morning brought new tensions to the project headquarters. The Vorgon fleet had accelerated, cutting their arrival time to 15 days. The Council was demanding hourly updates. "Commander Fletcher," Admiral Tholox announced, "the Council has approved your request for direct interface testing against Dr. Vexora's recommendation." Vexora's skin pulsed with barely contained fury. "This is reckless. We've spent years developing proper protocols." "Which haven't worked," Jack interrupted. "Look, I'm not trying to discount your research, but we're out of time for methodical approaches." "What exactly are you proposing?" the Admiral asked. Jack held up what looked like a modified Alliance neural interface. "Pip helped me adapt this last night. It'll allow direct mental contact with what we think is the ship's central processor." "That's," Vexora sputtered, "that's suicide. The neural load would fry your primitive nervous system." Hard. Maybe, Jack conceded. Or maybe that's exactly what this ship has been waiting for, someone willing to just ask it to wake up. The test chamber was cleared except for Jack, Pip, Admiral Tholox, and Dr. Vexora. Medical monitors beeped steadily as Jack settled into the interface chair. "Last chance to back out, Commander," the Admiral said. Jack adjusted the neural cap. "Not really my style, Admiral." "Pip, hit it." Initiating neural handshake in 3, 2, 1. Pip's cheerful voice belied the gravity of the moment. Jack's body went rigid as the connection established. On the monitors, his neural activity spiked dangerously. "His synaptic patterns are destabilizing," Vexora warned. "We need to abort." "Wait," Pip bounced excitedly. "Look at the ship's readings." For the first time in 37 years, the Morpheus was responding. Lights flickered across its hull as dormant systems began powering up. Inside Jack's mind, the experience was unexpected. He'd braced for pain, for an overwhelming flood of data. Instead, he felt something reaching out, curious, almost playful. "Hello?" Jack projected the thought cautiously. The response wasn't words so much as impressions, ancient knowledge, joy at connection, long waiting. "I'm Jack," he offered. "We need your help." More impressions flooded his consciousness, understanding, purpose, readiness, and underlying it all, a sense of recognition. In the test chamber, Jack gasped as his eyes flew open. "It's alive." "What happened?" the Admiral demanded. "It's not just a ship," Jack said, his voice filled with wonder. "It's alive, sentient, and it's been waiting for a pilot it could connect with." "Impossible," Vex Aura whispered, but her scientific certainty was visibly shaken. "The precursors," Jack continued, "they weren't building tools. They were growing partners. The ship doesn't need activation codes or startup sequences. It needs a connection." "Why wouldn't it connect with any of our experts?" the Admiral asked. Jack laughed. "Because you were all trying too hard. The Morpheus was designed for intuitive interaction, for pilots who think creatively, who follow hunches and take risks." "Like humans," Pip chirped. "Not just humans," Jack corrected, "but definitely not beings who approach everything through rigid methodology." Dr. Vex Aura's skin had shifted to a pale, thoughtful blue. "The precursors valued intuition over precision?" "They valued both," Jack explained. "But they understood that the universe is too complex, too unpredictable for pure logic. Sometimes you need to make a leap of faith." "Commander," the Admiral said urgently, "can you pilot it?" Jack nodded slowly. "I think the Morpheus and I understand each other." The evacuation order came through as Jack prepared for full integration with the Morpheus. The Vorgon fleet had somehow acquired jump technology, cutting their arrival time to mere hours. "We need to launch now," Admiral Thalox insisted, his normally composed demeanor cracking under pressure. "Ready or not." "Yacht." The entire project team had gathered in the hangar bay. Dr. Vex Aura approached Jack with what might have been respect in her alien features. "Commander Fletcher," she said formally, "I may have underestimated the value of human intuition." Jack grinned. "And I definitely underestimated how complicated alien ships can be. We'll call it even. Mill." "The neural load for a full launch will be tremendous," she warned. "No simulations, no practice runs." "Story of my life, Doc." Pip bounced nervously at Jack's side. "Bridge systems are as ready as they'll ever be. I've installed 17 coffee makers, one for each crew station." "About that," Jack said, kneeling to eye level with the robot. "I'm going to need a navigator." Pip froze mid-bounce. "But I'm not certified for." "You adapt. You think outside the box. The Morpheus will like you." Admiral Thalox cleared his throat, or the hexapod equivalent. "The Council has approved an emergency crew complement. Minimal personnel only." "I volunteer," Dr. Vex Aura said suddenly. When everyone stared, she added, "for scientific documentation, of course." As the hastily assembled crew boarded via the newly discovered access points, Jack felt the ship's awareness brush against his consciousness. It was eager, almost impatient. "Soon," he promised silently. The neural interface on the bridge was far more sophisticated than their jury-rigged test unit. As Jack settled into what could only be the captain's position, the chair molded itself to his body. "Neural integration in 3, 2, 1, Pip announced. This time, the connection was overwhelming. Jack gasped as the Morpheus flooded his mind not with data, but with sensation. He could feel every centimeter of the massive vessel as if it were his own body. The dormant engines hummed with potential energy. Ancient systems, far beyond Alliance technology, waited for his command. "Morpheus," Jack whispered, "wake up." The ship roared to life. On the bridge, the crew watched in awe as console after console illuminated. The lights pulsed in sync with Jack's heartbeat, visible on the medical monitors. Through the viewports, they could see the hangar bay lighting up as the Morpheus's systems energized. Structural integrity at 100%, reported an engineering technician. Power curves off the charts. Weapons systems online, called another. Its configuration, unlike anything in our databases. Dr. Vek's aura moved from station to station, her scientific detachment forgotten in the face of discovery. The propulsion system, it's not using conventional space folding. It's creating its own dimensional pocket. Commander Fletcher, Admiral Tholox said from the communication screen, the Vorgan advance fleet has entered the system. We need that ship operational now. Jack barely heard him. He was communing with the Morpheus, learning its capabilities through direct experience rather than manuals or training. The ship wasn't just responding to him, it was teaching him, guiding him. Admiral, Jack said, his voice oddly doubled as the ship's systems amplified it. You might want to clear the hangar bay. Things are about to get interesting. The Morpheus began to hover, its massive bulk defying gravity with impossible grace. The hangar doors, designed for vessels a fraction of its size, would never accommodate it. Jack? Pip's voice was unusually subdued. There's a teensy problem with the exit strategy. Jack smiled. Not for this ship. With a thought, he activated what the Morpheus showed him was a phase-shifting capability. The enormous vessel's hull shimmered and became translucent, passing through the hangar walls as if they were mist. On the bridge, the crew gasped collectively as the stars came into view. The Morpheus hung in space above the Alliance station, its ebony hull now pulsing with lines of energy that shifted through colors no human eye had names for. Commander, Dr. Vek's aura whispered, "What is this ship capable of?" Through his connection, Jack understood capabilities that defied conventional physics. Everything, he answered simply. And then some. The Vorgan fleet has spotted us, Pip announced. They're altering course to intercept. Jack felt the Morpheus's eagerness, its desire to prove itself after millennia of dormancy. Well then, he said, settling deeper into the neural link, let's show them what we can do. The ship surged forward, acceleration that should have crushed everyone aboard somehow translated into a gentle pressure. The stars outside blurred, then shifted into something else entirely, a dimension where light itself behaved differently. The Morpheus roared across space, rewriting the rules of physics as it went, with a human at its helm and a very surprised crew holding on for dear life. The Alliance Grand Council recognizes Commander Jack Fletcher of Earth, announced the council speaker, a gelatinous being whose translation device rendered their bubbling speech into crisp standard. Approach and be acknowledged. 3 weeks had passed since the Morpheus had scattered the Vorgan fleet. 3 weeks of debriefings, examinations, and increasingly elaborate theories about the nature of the ship and its sudden affinity for human operators. Jack stepped forward, still uncomfortable in the formal Alliance uniform they'd insisted he wear for the ceremony. Pip rolled alongside him, polished to a mirror shine for the occasion. Commander Fletcher, continued the speaker, your unconventional methods have saved countless lives and altered our understanding of precursor technology. The Alliance is humbled by what we failed to comprehend for so long. With all due respect, Jack replied, it wasn't just me. The entire Morpheus team contributed, especially Dr. Vek's aura, whose research provided the foundation for our breakthrough. In the audience, Vek's aura's skin flushed a deep purple, the Alterian equivalent of blushing. Nevertheless, the speaker bubbled, your unique approach has opened new possibilities. The Council has unanimously voted to commission the Morpheus as an Alliance vessel, with you as its commander. A murmur ran through the assembly. Giving command of the most powerful ship in the galaxy to a representative of Earth, a junior member of the Alliance, was unprecedented. I accept, Jack said simply. On one condition. Another murmur, louder this time. "No one made conditions to the Grand Council." "I choose my crew," Jack continued undeterred. "Starting with Lieutenant Pip as my executive officer." Pip nearly short-circuited with excitement, bouncing so violently that a nearby dignitary had to steady the robot. "And Dr. Vex Aura as Chief Science Officer if she'll accept." All eyes turned to the Alterian scientist, who stood with characteristic grace. "I would be interested in continuing my research from aboard the Morpheus." "It's settled then," the speaker announced. "The Morpheus will depart on its first official mission next week." Later, on the observation deck overlooking the now active Morpheus, Jack stood with his unusual command team. "I still don't understand," Vex Aura admitted. "Why did it choose you? Why humans?" Jack watched as maintenance crews swarmed around the magnificent vessel, looking tiny against its vast black hull. "I've been communing with the ship's consciousness," he explained. "The precursors built the Morpheus as an experiment in freedom." "Freedom?" Pip questioned. "They had achieved perfect technology, perfect order," Jack said. "But they realized that perfection is stagnation. They wanted to create something that could evolve, that could surprise even them. And that's why it responded to human intuition," Vex Aura realized. "We were too methodical, too predictable in our approaches. The ship was waiting for someone who would talk to it, not at it," Jack nodded. "Someone who would treat it as a partner, not just technology to be mastered." Pip bounced thoughtfully. "So what happens now?" Jack grinned as the Morpheus's hull began to pulse with anticipation. Through their connection, he could feel the ship's eagerness to explore, to discover, to surprise even its creators. "Now," he said, "we roar." As if in response, the Morpheus's engines flared to life, bathing the observation deck in impossible colors. The ship wasn't just awake, it was alive. And somehow, against all galactic odds, it had chosen humanity to join it on the journey. Sometimes the simplest solution really was the right one,